Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. So, Zelensky addressed the U.S. Congress this past week. If you watch that or any part of that, there's really no conclusion that you can come to except that Zelensky wants World War III. Now, this is not something that is universal across Ukraine. According to the Turkish Prime Minister, the negotiators between Ukraine and Russia are coming closer to an agreement, at least on four major points. Now, this is in contrast. This is in opposition to what Zelensky is trying to accomplish. One thing I'm going to point out here is that Zelensky has made it illegal to be a member of 11 opposition parties in that country. If you are a member of one of those parties, you can be arrested in Ukraine at this point. Several members of parliament in Ukraine have been arrested for suggesting actual peace, any kind of, agreements that recognize Russia's demands. This is what Zelensky is doing. Let me bring a page up here. Okay, and I want you to take a good notice when you're being fed all this propaganda. You're only handed one side in Western media. But yeah, here's this article: Ukraine and Russia close to agreement on critical issues. All right, there had been rapprochement and the positions of both sides on important subjects, critical subjects. Can we say we are hopeful for a ceasefire? The sides do not take a step back. Well, we can say if the sides do not take a step back from the current positions. Russia has been consistent on their position. All right, so Turkish presidential spokesman Ibrahim Kalin told Al Jazeera that Moscow and Kiev were close on four main issues, citing Russia's red line of Ukraine vowing not to join NATO, demilitarization and denazification of the country, and the protection of the Russian language. So they're getting close on those things. Permanent ceasefire would have to come through a direct meeting with Putin and Zelensky. That's something that could happen within hours. If Ukraine, if Zelensky actually recognizes the peace agreement that is reached by his own negotiators. I'm actually not expecting him to do that. They may reach an agreement and he will veto it. That's what I expect. I'm telling you that Zelensky is completely unstable. And he is completely corrupt. Now, I want you to notice the way that this is presented in Russian media. All right? Moscow attacked its neighbor in late February following a 7-year standoff over Ukraine's failure to implement the terms of the Minsk agreements and Russia's eventual recognition of the Donbas republics in Donetsk and Lugansk. Okay? All right, Russia has now demanded that Ukraine officially declare itself a neutral country that will never join the U.S.-led NATO military bloc, while Kiev insists the Russian offensive was completely unprovoked and has denied assumptions it was planning to retake the two breakaway regions by force. This is, they're presenting both sides. Yeah, okay? You're not even going to hear that much of a statement presenting both sides from Western media. You're not going to hear it. Anyway, so while his negotiators are reaching these agreements, Zelensky is up in front of the U.S. Congress again, asking for, he's asking for a no-fly zone, which he's been told is not going to happen. That would lead to World War III. Then he's asking for jets, which they've told him is not going to happen. That would lead to World War III. Then he's asking for just one thing after another that he has been told is not going to happen. I mean, they're giving him weapons. And this. Anyway, you've got to question the Western narrative that Ukraine is winning against Russia. Okay, if Ukraine is winning against Russia, why does he need a no-fly zone? Why does he need more weapons? Why does he need foreign fighters coming into the country? Just inviting these foreign fighters into the country runs an extreme risk. Now, luckily, a number of NATO countries have told their own forces, if you go to Ukraine, you will be court-martialed, and you will go to prison, period. So I'm happy to hear about that. But there are reports that 20,000 people have gone to Ukraine to fight. But you got a number of problems with this. Number one, Ukraine has set the standard that anybody coming in has to have actual combat experience. Well, there goes half of that 20,000. They're just out of there. Who's going to have combat experience? Might be some Americans, but not a whole lot. Mostly, you're going to wind up with ISIS in your country. You're going to wind up with these psychopaths that I've mentioned before. Okay, but then you run into other problems. They don't know how to use Ukrainian equipment. They don't speak Ukrainian. You got people from 20 different countries speaking 20 different languages. How are you going to coordinate these people on a battlefield? You're not. All you're going to do is turn a bunch of psychopathic killers loose. You're going to hand them weapons and send them out to kill, and they may not even know who they're trying to kill. That's it. Hey, you wind up with these small groups of people from individual countries. But at the same time, a lot of these mercenaries, some reports are coming back that a lot of these mercenaries coming in there are just evacuating. They're running for the hills out to Poland, almost as soon as they get there. So you cannot believe any of this stuff that Ukraine is winning. You need to question so many things about Zelensky. Zelensky is an actor. He is an actor, a comedic actor. And yet, I've mentioned before, he's in the Pandora Papers. Why is he in the Pandora Papers? Because he has money stored outside of the country, and he is worth an estimated something like $1.3 billion. Billion, not million, billion US dollars. How does a comedic actor that nobody in the United States ever heard of until a few weeks ago become worth $1.3 billion? I mean, had you ever heard of him before last month? Had you ever heard of him? I had, but had you? Is, you know, Jimmy Dore worth $1.3 billion? Is Nicolas Cage worth $1.3 billion? Name a media personality that is worth $1.3 billion. Try and name one. Because that just doesn't happen. Where did that money come from? So he is an actor. He is reciting a script. He is not even writing this script. Actors recite scripts that are written by someone else. He is reciting a script that is being written by people in the U.S. military-industrial complex. That's who's writing his script. You know, he's crying when he should be negotiating. He refuses to speak with Putin unless there is already a peace deal written. Instead of trying to negotiate this peace deal, you know, Putin is no stranger to negotiations. But Zelensky does not make negotiations. He can't even deal with opposition within his own parliament without, you know, sending people to prison that disagree with him. That's it. And you're praising, some people are praising this. So hopefully what's going to happen is that they actually come to a peace agreement, and either Zelensky agrees to it or Parliament gets together and overthrows him and installs somebody else that will reach a peace agreement. Again, this is something that could happen within hours. As soon as he says, I'm not going to sign it, okay, you're out, somebody else is in. Stop praising this oligarch, warmongering, insane person that wants the entire world to go to war. This is not sane at all. Of course, a lot of Americans are not sane. A recent poll said that 30% of Americans polled favor the idea of a nuclear war with Russia over Ukraine. How insane is that? That is absolutely insane. You don't understand that modern weapons are thousands of times more powerful than Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And if Russia sees one incoming missile that to Moscow, they can't identify what type of warhead is on it. One missile coming in, they launch their entire arsenal, and some of those weapons are going to be aimed at U.S. targets: Washington, D.C., New York, Florida, Texas, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Colorado Springs, Colorado, and California, and probably North Dakota. Those are all major nuclear sites, so, and governmental sites. So there you go. Those weapons, and one nuclear ICBM today carries up to 10 warheads. So you're not just trying to hit one target. When it's incoming, it splits off into these 10 different warheads to hit 10 different targets. One ICBM can drop off one warhead toward Washington, and another one over Texas, and another one over New Mexico. Those all come from one missile. But no matter what, you've got all these different warheads, all these nuclear warheads on one vehicle. Now multiply that by hundreds of vehicles, and you've got tens of thousands of incoming nuclear warheads. And most of them will be aimed at the United States. They won't, only a few of them will be aimed at Europe. Frankfurt, Paris, Belgium. You hit those three cities and you pretty much wiped out NATO because there's no command anymore. But most of those weapons are going to be aimed at us because we are the biggest threat. Anyway, is that what you want? You want the entire country laid waste? You want the entire planet laid waste because of your hate? Anyway, Zelensky is not the only psychopath here. All right, so share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.